Namaste, sir.
नमस्ते। ओम सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह शांति। Somehow, world over, what happened is that religion has become like a separate activity. Life is a separate activity. Learning is a separate activity. The growth is separate. Like that, they're all like handled in a separate way. And the same kind of a model that our people also have unfortunately taken, that spirituality means basically you say a few mantras and do some puja or something like that, or do some rituals when a situation that occurs or the festivals. So this is how basically they have piecemeal they have handled it. Not only that, people who give the talks about Sanatana Dharma, give the ideas of Sanatana Dharma also, they have given like that. Ramayana Dharma is like this. That means to say, tell the truth. There are some examples. Or take care of your parents. Then we have the examples of some Shravana. So like that, here and there, they have taken it in piecemeal about these things. Whereas, is there a way that you can take the overall picture of Sanatana Dharma? It is, you see, with that attitude, this whole life has been developed. This is what only Vivekananda said it, but he could not get into the details of it. He said that Sanatan Dharma, the spiritual journey, is the core of this particular culture. Arvind also said the core of this culture is Sanatan Dharma. Core of this culture is spiritual journey. So it's not just only that you are uh, sitting and meditating is the idea of Sanatana Dharma, is the spirituality. If you don't do meditation, that means you are not part of Sanatana Dharma. You are not part of spiritual journey. This kind of an approach that has been there, whereas this background of this whole culture itself is Dharma. That means the Dharma is the way that whether it is the growth of a child, whether it is education or learning or the society that is developed, everything is in the form of dharma that we have decided. There is no part in this particular culture which is not dharma. So, if we want to look at that way, and it is because that way only, that's why, in spite of the fact, all the changes in the technology, etc., etc., the dharma continued in this culture because it adapted to the present situation. Therefore, it continued. Whereas, look at the way that the lifestyle that was there, maybe at the time of, say, Greeks earlier, there was a culture. But what happened to the culture? It just dropped off because it does not cater to anymore to the whole of life itself. The second thing is the adaptability. The adaptability as it progresses, that we were adapting these things. So, and because of that adaptability, that it survived. Or all the development that has taken place over a period of time, technology development and science development, we have gone ahead and changes the whole thing. In fact, that's the reason why in this culture, Sanatana Dharma, there was such a wonderful development of the material world. We were extraordinary in the material world, but together with that, we had the spiritual journey also going on. And even the material world is only for the sake of spiritual journey. That is how they have given. That's why we have these two things part of the same text of Vedas, and which are supposed to be Karma Kanda, which is about the society order and all those things, and then how you live. And then Jnana Kanda, that means Karma Kanda is supposed to give the peripheral, whereas Jnana Kanda is the core and vertical. So therefore, that Vertical journey has always been envisaged. So that's why both these things are part of this culture. So that's why when you look at and the way that they have presented also in such a way that it leads us in that way right from the time that you are in the mother's womb to the level that you go to the tomb, that this journey continues. So that's why we have the the way of life also has been divided into four ashramas. Ashrama is given certain uh, features, responsibilities, ideas, so that you go through that ashram, so that naturally you get into the next ashram to next ashram. Like that, it is there. And whatever that was necessary for that ashram, that they had given that very clearly. Like, for example, earlier in the form of education, that we had an ashram which is supposed to be a brahmachari ashram. And they used to go to the Gurukul and then stay in the Gurukul. But then the time has changed, right? In front of our eyes itself. That means to say, in the last about 10,000 years, that change has occurred. Instead of these Gurukuls where the saints used to be there, they brought them together in the form of under one umbrella and called it as a university, like Takshashila University and Nalanda University, where, Chanakya comes from Takshashila University. Nalanda University, that is where Yuan Sang comes from. So these universities and our one of the extraordinary, wonderful professors, he was there, and that was uh, was written about Buddhism. So all these things, they were there in the university. So university setup was created. And so therefore we were the earliest university that we have created. And so much of emphasis on the knowledge and knowing and development. That was the thing which was catered by almost like 18 universities were there 6,000 years ago in this particular culture. And then these 18 universities that were there, nowhere else in the world that they had the concept of university. I heard that the first university concept in Europe came with Bologna University, Italy. Before that, it was not there. Because those days, Italy was really prosperous country. That's where Bologna University came. It's very close to Milano. So it's a huge place, wonderful place. It's nice. And that was supposed to be their icon of universities. Later on, other universities have developed. And the very important thing is that in the beginning, when the university started, it will be with a small, with a certain idea. But as we have grown, that it goes into bigger ideas. It's like that earlier also there were three colors, slowly developed into seven colors. And then today that 150 colors are there. So that means it grows. Similarly, earliest language that in India that we had is Tamil. Tamil has 14 letters, whereas slowly it grows up into now today. And the latest language is Telugu, and Telugu language has 56 letters. So that means actually it grows. It's a wonderful thing. And Tamil takes the pride of oldest language. There's another interesting aspect of the older language is why they could how they could maintain with the few number of letters is it's not just only the letters. Letters is only indicating something, but the way that you pronounce makes the whole difference. What we have four letters, kaka, gaka, is one letter. Papa, baba is one letter. And that's how basically they used to manage. But by talking the way that how you pronounce is the way that it makes a sense of that. In fact, it so happened in Japan one time. The Japanese language is a pictorial language. Actually, you can see that, observe the Japanese language, you can clearly see that. A square kind of a thing like that is there. It's supposed to be exit. And there is no exit. So its only entry is that it's a square with a center line. That means doors are closed. And that is what is the letter indicating the exit or entry in Chinese, in Japanese language. So I went to one of the, and by these characters that they make your name, everything. So I asked one of the Japanese, write down Raghuram. Then he thought for a while and then wrote down. I kept that paper with me. I went to another Japanese, asked him, write down my name. He wrote. These two look different. I said this first fellow. Second fellow, I showed the first one. I said, what do you read? How do you read this? And this is Raghuram. But then you wrote Raghuram. Yeah, that's Raghuram. That means basically that pictorially that they can read that. It's a very nice thing. So like that, when you see that how many such things have developed in this particular culture, that we have, so Brahmacharya ashrama is the ashrama where you get into first start learning. So what are the things learning has, you see, it's not just only bookish learning, it's something that your personality has to be created, the unfolding the personality. Because childhood is the time that where that you can absorb anything. In fact, you observe, you imitate, and then you have enthusiasm to learn because the world is wide in front of you. So therefore, you try to give such thing in the brahmacharya ashram in such a way that they are strengthened, they are useful, they grow. But not only that they grow, but at the same time that they will be identifying what is their basic tendency or the triad that is there is given. That's what last time also I said that in a person that who is a Kshatriya guna, Rajasic, then the way that the training, everything, he would see that you can identify that he's going to be Kshatriya. That's what we have the story of Rana Pratap, where he was clearly given as Kshatriya. He was actually impressed by Mirabai. He wanted to go by Mirabai. But then I said, no, he's a Kshatriya. He has to be trained in Kshatriya. So that's how it has been, it has happened. So that means this is such a close observing and training and all that was available for these people. And it's a lot of such stories about the way that how the Gurukul and the Guru and actually there's another very important aspect is that mm, that they branch out into various branches. So they used to go to the teacher where that particular knowledge is available. They will go to that knowledge. And that's what we see in the Upanishads. Like as people have learned everything, these are the five students who are there. And after learning Sukesha Bharadwaja and all those people, then they learned all those things. And after that, now that specialization, they wanted to learn more. And that more learning, they went to Pippalada. Pippalada was the teacher. They went to another ashram somewhere in Himalayas. And then Pippalada, he said that, come on, you undergo particularly. First, there is certain uh, uh, this qualification for that. So follow these things for 1 year. A 1 year that you follow, then I will admit you as a student. Samvatsaram samvatsataha. After that, they will come and then they are accepted. Then you see all the questions are there. That's what is the Prashna Upanishad. The whole elaborate ideas about prana that is there. So like that, we were teachers were giving all these lessons that was there. And it was also practical. It was applicable in the day-to-day life, both in terms of your growth and also in the society, what are the things that can develop. All these things were available in this particular culture. So then what happened is that that's the reason why there was such a extraordinary, wonderful wealth in this country that Western people were attracted towards the wealth of this country. That's the reason why that invaders have come after again and again. In fact, the other day that I was following this Porus and all that, the expression very clearly Alexander gives us that this is a this is a golden bird and golden bird. So therefore, basically, India is a golden bird. So that means you can go and take any rich out of it. And so Seleucus came, he also wanted to do that. Then later on, Babur came, he also wanted to loot this particular country. Everybody came to loot this country. In fact, those people who came to loot this country, whether it is Vasco da Gama and all that, they were known to be thugs. They were not any explorers or anything. They just came to loot the country. Somehow these people whose psychologies borrowed, they borrowed the Western psychology, the people who say that everybody else came to loot, but British came to give us this country, the railways, this, that, and all those things. How foolishness. How can we accept that? So everybody came to loot. It shows that the country was prosperous. And we have evidences and stories here and there. Like, for example, the nice, wonderful work on the weaving that they have to do in such a way a sari can be packed in a matchbox. And it was presented to Queen. And who are the people who have done that? These are the people who have done it. Then they took them to England and they cut off their fingers so that they don't do anymore such kind of a thing. How many such fine arts have been destroyed because that they were after this money? But then this is a very small little simple thing compared to the treasure that we have in the form of knowledge. If they had taken this knowledge of this culture, probably they would have become different. Some people have taken it here and there. Some people have taken, like for example, they say that Archimedes has taken this principle from here, and Newton also has taken this gravitational law. So see, there are some people who have taken this knowledge. All this was there, and this was being taught in the Gurukul. Gurukul was the place where both these things are there. And it's not just only the learning process that was there in the form of knowledge, but in the form of experience it was given. Again and again, we have the references of at many places in the Upanishad saying that it's not only the knowledge, but also have the experience. That's why Shrotriya Brahmanishtam. That means the one who is the Shrotriya, that he read the knowledge, but is then Brahmanishtam. He has practiced that, he's established that. Similarly, Shrotriyasya cha akamahatasya te ye shatam manusha anandaha. That's what Taittiriya Upanishad also gives. Not only the knowledge, but akamahataha. In fact, akamahata is a very important thing. I'll go into that when we talk about that, about the learning process that's going on. So all these things were there. After all this learning experience, everything that is there, then he is left into the society. So what is the learning that is taking place is that everything that is there which is useful for him to see that his upward journey into the spirituality. That is what is Shreyas. What is good for you is supposed to be Shreyas. Anything which is taking you towards the outside world, into the world outside, not turning inwards, it is supposed to be Prayas. Prayas is the one where that you see you'll develop liking, you develop, get attached to it. But they always used to insist on that don't get attached to the outside world. Use the outside world as much as it is necessary. That's why we have given very clear indication saying that the body is important, the senses are important because that we interact with the world outside. They're very important. Without the body, prana, mind, intellect, nothing can be there. That's why the body is the foundation, is the base, is the essential thing that is there. Therefore, respect this body. This body is supposed to be a temple of God. And the God is there, somebody who is residing in this. So therefore, that you need to take care of this. So, but don't get caught up in the body. Body is useful, but don't get caught up in the body or in the senses that are there. So therefore, that prayas is there something which is supposed to be. Prayas comes from Priya. Priya means that what I like. It comes from that which is essentially for the sake of just maintaining this body. For that, they have given very simple technique that technology that they have introduced for the brahmacharya ashrama. Brahmacharya ashrama, what are the things to be done? What is given? So that your focus is on the shreyas, what is good for you to see that go in the outward direction. Don't get caught up in the material world outside. The simple way that they said is that, from brahmacharya, uh, they said that first thing they have given very important idea is that the society has to support your growth, your spiritual growth, your development. You are going to be a unit in the society. So therefore, that they have introduced this extraordinary, wonderful idea of bhiksha. Bhiksha is not begging. Unfortunately, we don't have that concept in English, so we don't have a word. Bhiksha is such a sacred word. That's why in Buddhism, the Buddha disciples are called as the followers are called as the bhikshus. Bhikkhu, they call it as. That means they basically Bhiksha is given such a big role. And they're also given that who are all supposed to be eligible to take Bhiksha, otherwise they can't take Bhiksha. You have to work for yourself. You can't take bhiksha. You can't be parasite. Bhiksha means basically parasite. No, you have to. Only people who can be parasite can be. That is really old people that they cannot survive on this. They can be parasite. And then the children who do not know, nothing developed in that, they are there. And third is the handicapped people. These are the people who are supposed to be taken care of by the society. Therefore, these are the bhiksha eligibility. That's the, otherwise nobody should. Even a sannyasi who is supposed to take a bhiksha, that means his pursuit is only a spiritual journey. He takes bhiksha, but having taken accepted bhiksha, he is supposed to give the knowledge to them. His role is to spread the knowledge. Therefore, he is supposed to spread the knowledge. So, therefore, the student level that you take bhiksha, now that they have given so many restrictions about bhiksha, don't go for more than 3 days, 3 houses, etc., etc. Where just because that's somebody's house, that you get wonderful food. So therefore, I go every day to that. No, you can't go. 3 days maximum that you can go. So like that, there are so many restrictions to see that you are not hooked onto that. Basic idea is that don't get used to that. Don't get hooked onto it. You should keep moving. That's why sannyasa is supposed to be like a river which is flowing. It will be flowing. That is the idea. Society provided that way so that it gives the knowledge. Now, the second thing is that the you learn and then you graduate. Now, this whole learning of brahmacharya ashrama is not based on teaching uh, oriented, it is learning oriented. So when teaching oriented, then it comes time period and the teacher, so many students, and then exam, all these things. Whereas learning is the model, then you are supposed to be there as long as that you want to learn this. There's no question of any time limit. In fact, there's one beautiful story where it says that once you finish learning, you think that you have learned, then you just fold your mat and then go away. That's all. You don't stay there anymore because you have learned it. You don't have any more to. And that learning also is something which is experiential, which means basically there is a learning which is basically that you memorize and then you reproduce. It's not just memory, it is something that you live that. Then it is no more a memory. It is supposed to be something which is a way of life. So create that as a way of life. Then what happens is that then it will not leave you. I always used to say when I was giving my classes in various topics and Shanti, that is that all that what we require is to concept giving. Once concept is understood, then you can never leave it. Every concept is like the way that once you learn swimming, swimming will not go away from you. It will always be there. Like that, when the concept is clear, then everything is clear now. So make that concept well. If you want to make that concept clear, you want to stay for how many days? That's fine, up to you. So that there's no hurry that you finish and then go ahead. But you work on that so that you continue to learn. I tell you that this Panchakosha uh, so happened that I normally give the talk on Panchakosha. And when I said that the student, he found out that he is not Annamaya Kosha. But then what is that? Then he found out he is Pranamaya Kosha. That means he realized that he is the prana. Then he realized that he is mind, Manomaya Kosha. So that then so excited when you realize that you are the not the body, you are the prana. Come back to the teacher. The very interesting thing about this. We say that relax. Relax is what actually saying to yourself that you are not Annamaya Kosha. Leave Annamaya Kosha behind. But our relaxation is just 1%, 2%. If you really leave this body 100%, that means you are not body, you are prana. Once it so happened, Vivekananda was meditating and suddenly he became panic and then said, where is me? Because he completely came out of body sense. Completely came out of body sense. So that means he really realized that he is not the body, he is prana, his mind, his intellect. So this way that we have to go. Can we really go that way? In fact, it's not just only the bookish learning, it's an experiential. It's very important. So can you be that way? So when I say relax, you should be completely leave the body behind. You are not the body. Body de-identification has to happen. And you're looking at the body as you're looking at some other object here. You're looking at the body also as an object. Objectification. Then you are really behind it. That's what Upanishad says. Prana is the Atma of the body. So prana is not the body. Prana is Atma of the body. Similarly, mind is the Atma of the prana. So like that says. But have we become like that? So this talk, I was in the Ramakrishna Mission one day in the bookshop. I was buying some books and all. So there's a person who was there. So after that, I went to him. He was there at the cash counter. So I gave him pay. And then he was writing the bill. And they said, I heard your talk and I'm trying to apply it in my life. With 60-70% I succeeded. Wow, that means you heard my talk. And Ramakrishna Mission people, they listen to the talks on Ramakrishna because there are all sannyasis who are there. They have no chance to. No, I heard your talk. And I never spoken Ramakrishna Mission. First of all, I'm not a sannyasi. Second thing is I don't belong to Ram. So there is no chance. No, I heard your talk in some temple somewhere. My God, that temple talk I gave almost like 3 or 4 years back. And then he still remembered that talk. He said, I'm able to apply it about 60-70%. Trying to continue with that. Oh, that means how much you can really apply to yourself. So one lifetime is not sufficient to just understand one concept. In fact, that's all basically the learning takes place. I also gave that example many times about the way that Drona was teaching these people about Satya, truth. And then he said, Satya gave all the explanation. And then they said, okay, next day, we'll take up the topic on next question. Thing. Yudhishthira said, no, wait. I would like to learn more about Satya. Elaborated. Third day, fourth day, he would never leave. Everybody started thinking, both Pandavas and Kauravas, they were thinking, this fellow is supposed to be intelligent five. But why is he stuck with this Satya itself? He and others almost like got annoyed. Even Drona got annoyed. And then, but finally, after say several days or maybe months, and then he said, now I understood, let's go further. This was their impression in the mind of Drona. So that's the reason why in the war field, there was a rogue elephant, and whose name was Ashwatthama. Then they must have conversation and all that. And then finally, that whole commotion of that rogue elephant has come down. Yudhishthira, the head of the whole part of it, he said, what happened? So Bhima jumped in and he killed Ashwatthama. So Ashwatthama is killed. That somebody heard from Yudhishthira. And then he told Drona, Ashwatthama died. Drona mistook Ashwatthama to be his son. He said, who said it? He said it is Yudhishthira said it. If Yudhishthira said it, if Bhima said it, I don't believe it. I take it lightly. But if Yudhishthira said it, it must be serious. Then he just dropped off everything. So truth can be so powerful. Satya Pratisthaya. That's what Patanjali says. So Gurukula is there for you to be Pratisthita in that. So that means basically that this knowledge is no more a knowledge, it becomes a nididhyasana. Nididhyasana means all the time it is there with you. It's not that you have to be separately taught or given the idea. It is there with you. Concept is very important. Once you get the concept, then it will be for lifetime with you. Not only lifetime, that concept will be life after life after life, it will be continued. So therefore, this is what is basically the learning has to take place with the teacher who is supposed to have that experience. So you imitate him, you apply the. So that's why he's called as Acharya. Acharya is what? Who does the Acharya? That means who is I? Who has put it into Acharana? Then only it is Acharya. So we have examples of that. He is not just teaching interested. He is an Acharya. He lives that. What he lives, he gives. And not only that he gives, but when he lives that he gives, that will be so impressive. And the student will be guided in that direction. So that's why the student is called as Acharya is the one, Purva Rupam, Antevasi Shuddha Rupam Vidya Sadhi. Antevasi, the very name of the student or the student is called as Antevasi. That means ultimately he will become like him. That's why he's called as Antevasi. He becomes like that. So the connection between these two is absolutely so tightly connected because one to one, because the student has to absorb from the teacher the whole living experience of it. It's not just only the knowledge, but the living experience of the knowledge, he has to get it. And that's what the teacher can give. Now, that living experience is the one, like for example, the later on it will come anyway. But very important thing is that the strength that is there of a business strength that is there, it has to be 100% of the business strength. Somebody who lives that will become the teacher. And the student will become that. Then what interferes with that is profit making. So profit making is not the goal. Profit making is a natural part of his life. Analysis and the thing is the natural way Brahmin will do it. Others may not do it. Brahmins can do it. You give him any question, anything, analyzes. That is kept. So that's why we have all these shastras developed, whether Vaiseshika or Puramimamsa, all these things developed because somebody could go into that analysis of that. In fact, how deeply it can go into is so extraordinary. The other day, somebody was asking that the whole journey of it's a little digression, but the whole journey, Patanjali is to see that it will take you from the manifest world to unmanifest. Unmanifest world to causal. That means to say that is Sukshma and then Karana. Karana level that you need to go. That means manifest world you need to take out. So it's only just manifest world is just only a support. But otherwise the journey has to go on without this particular thing. So therefore, what happens is that dharana, the object that is there, you should be able to leave that object and go ahead. If you're still holding on to the object, then you are still outside. But that object, when you go behind that object, then you will try to understand what is the secret behind the object that is created. That secret from which that object comes up is supposed to be the vibhuti. Vibhuti is that from where the vibhuti comes, that means to say manifestation. Vibhuti is manifestation. That's why we have in Bhagavad Gita, so 10th chapter, Vibhuti Yoga. That means manifestation comes. So I go into that level from where the manifestation has come. If I don't leave the object, then I can't go behind. I have to leave the seed aspect of the seed behind, and then I go deep inside. So this is what is dhyana, is turning inwards, leaving the object behind. If you are holding on to the object, somebody was asking me that question that if I home picture is there, can I keep watching the picture? Can I close the picture? This, Baba, leave the picture behind. If you are holding onto the picture, you are in the world outside. Unless until you leave the picture, world, it's so easy to leave the picture because picture will not stay in you more than 10 minutes, more than 10 seconds. Afterwards, you go inside. But then what happens is inside you pick up another picture, third picture, fourth. No, no, no. You leave this picture means going to that picturelessness or the pre-picture state. That's what we pre-object state. So this is what is dhyana. Then it will take samadhana. Samadhana is the causal state from where that the whole thing has come. So this is what basically Patanjali is here. When you are only with these three different steps, you are called as sanyama. Sanyama is that you can take an object and go to the state which is behind the object. When people went into that way, then only they realized importance of the object, in what way it is useful, because that they go to the origin of it. Let me give a very simple example that a particular tree, in the project area, it was there. The tree that was there, it said that you make the bark of the tree a nice, wonderful paste, and then apply when the bone is broken, the bones will set all right. That has a property to set all right. Some villager was telling me in Kulagi, some villager was telling. Then I asked him, how did you know about that this particular thing? This, sir, you see this tree. The usually normally the trees that the branches crisscross, and in this particular tree, the branches crisscross, they get melted into each other. They have a property of melting each other. They said that's why this happens like this. Wow, that's an extraordinary, wonderful knowledge.
Do you know the name of the tree?
I don't know why.
I will find out.
Right. In Kulgi, it was there.
ಈ some ದನ ಕಾಯೋ ದನ
Yeah,
ಹೋದಾಗ ಒಂದು ಸೊಪ್ಪು ಕಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಂದು
right.
ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಅವರು
Apply it.
ಪ್ಲೇಟ್ ಅದು ಸರಿ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ ಅವಾಗ
Yeah.
ದೆನ್ ಅಗೇನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಅಗೇನ್ ಅದು ಮಂತನದಿಂದ ಮಂತನಕ್ಕೆ
So all these things were developed because of people have observed and lived that.
yes beautiful.
That's why all these things. So like that, there are so many incidents that are there to show that how, unfortunately, what happened after modern medicine has come, these things are set aside. Otherwise, if you go to the villages, you go to the tribal areas and all that, then naturally that was there, possible. These are the things that,
Both setters are there.
yeah, yeah,
And the same
all
experience.
those,
They are
yes.
practicing over a generation.
Right, generation they are practicing. So this is the basic idea that was there. They used to live that. So this is what is basically the way that learning is, Acharya and then Antevasi. So that you see the teacher is living and then you imitate the teacher, your teacher like that, it becomes like that. There is another thing also that when you see the teacher
has
really
a very
living,
big responsibility.
yeah, it's a big responsibility. Because what happens is that tomorrow that you produce somebody is a useful member in the society. You know, the society is such an extraordinary, wonderful structure. Such a wonderful structure that society is created. So that the society will survive. What is the basic unit in the society is a grahastha. And grahastha basic element does is people. And if the people are learned, taught properly, then the graha will be proper. So grahastha will be proper. So that particular kind of grahastha, you see, today also it's very easy idea that marriage and then you are married and then you set up a home with all those things, then you are respectability. Anybody comes to the house and say that I'm not married or I'm married but my wife is not there, they hesitate to come to my house because basically it's not a grahastha property. So you just see that how responsibility it is there. You can just go there and stay there. And this, it's psychological thing. It is not that only in this culture. Anywhere, this is a kind of thing that is there, provided that you live that purity in your heart. So a good friend of mine in Germany, and, I was going to his house one. Another German lives in USA and his wife, they were my close. So they came to my hospital in Germany. They were driving me to the new place. And then they drove all the way. And then when we went to that, my friend's place, my friend's, he is there, he's also doctor. He's busy in the hospital, working something. His wife was somewhere else. So he said, Raghu, don't worry, you go house and then the maid is there. She will open the door for you. You can go inside and you can go to the kitchen and do everything that you want. And then I directly went there and then maid was there. We couldn't talk also in German. So because I can't talk. And then maid was there. I went to the kitchen. I opened the drawers and this and that was there. All the ingredients were there. I started cooking there. And the maid was wondering, somebody from some other country comes here, doesn't even know English. And then he's cooking and he's doing all those things. My friend from Germany, USA, he also, oh, what is this? This house? Is this your house? You are coming here and doing all this. That means the the faith, the trust that is built in having a kind of a approach in the way that it is. It gives that. The Grahastha has to give that trust for the whole society. So that's why it is, house we can build it. Home is created by the people. And home is created by what is the culture behind it. House only shows about the civilization. Homes will say, give about the culture. Yes, when you look at big towers and then all these things like, Falcon City and all that, it's about the civilization. Yeah, Bangalore is very civilized. But if you go there, then you don't see the culture. Culture is in the people. Culture is the way that they live. That's what important. So we always used to emphasize on the culture with the civilization supported with that. Otherwise, what happens is if we are not abreast with the civilization that's growing, then we become uh, backbenchers. The society will not respect us. So that's why we need to be update with the technology development and civilization and all that is there. But at the same time, we should not leave the cultural aspect behind it. And that's what our spirituality, our Sanathana Dharma will emphasize on that. Once I equip you with all this cultural aspect of it behind it in the Brahmacharya Ashrama, together with that, I'll give you the knowledge about the modern development and all that. Then I can leave you anywhere. Then what happens is that the material world outside is only for the sake of need, not any greed. And that can only help you to see that how your life is made comfortable. Today also, that we are never against all this technology development, because how much of this technology development we can use to see that spiritually that we can grow. So therefore, the growth into the spirituality is something which is always there at the background. You might have all those things, but at the same time, if you don't do that growth of updating the spiritual technology and all that, then you'll be fossilized. Then you'll be at the background. Then what happens is that, you see, what happens with that is that you may have an idea that spirituality is something which is all these things that are there. But the next generation, they don't have this idea of spirituality. They only see what is the material growth that. See, then what happens is that they blame the generation that why did you not become modernized? So the attraction for the modernization, the attraction for the outside world, then they go behind it. Whereas we never shunned about the development of technology that was there in this culture. But we used it very beautifully about all these things that were there. Like, for example, metallurgy itself, I would say that two metals cannot go together, but we had such an extraordinary, wonderful knowledge. Five metals can harmoniously be together. Panchaloha we have created. Like that, how many things that is there in the material world that is developed because of these people only, our youngsters, children, who are going through the Gurukul, they only created. People, unfortunately, what happened today, they just brought the Gurukul and then say Sanskrit teaching should be there and something like that. But I would say that whether it is Charaka, Sushruta, or any of these saints, sages, scientists who have come from the Indian culture, they also came from the Gurukul. But then Gurukul knowledge has to be in such a way that we have to develop this kind of, or the education system has to develop that way. It's not just bringing in some Gurukuls and all trying to teach them, but to see that education system is developed in such a way that Brahmacharya Ashrama is properly handled, so that you'll have in the society somebody who is definitely fit to create a society which is harmonious. In fact, it's so beautifully said that a society, and for this, what need to happen is that there should be a discipline right from the beginning. The abhyasa is something which is very important in the case of the growth that is development that's taking place. So but what happens is that right from the beginning, if you are given abhyasa, in the way that it is properly adapted and all that, then it doesn't look like a forcing of you. You do it because you are asked to do it, so you do it. Get up early morning at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock, everybody gets up. So that it does not become like a burden. It's like a way of life. So they have given this very important disciplines as a way of life. They did not maintain it as something which is rested upon. I remember one place when we were all there together, and then we used to get up early in the morning and then do meditation just 4 o'clock and all that. We used to do it. Then one of our fellows said, "Wow, this Sunday we don't have to do meditation." Arey, it's not because somebody else that you're doing meditation. You're doing for yourself. It's not whether it is Sunday or Monday, Tuesday. You get up and do it. And then you'll have to have a holiday on one day. For what? So this was never a culture, part of the culture. So it happens only when the discipline comes from within. And this discipline, when it does not come from within, it's rusted from outside. Then it is like it is like taking away your freedom. Discipline, when it comes from outside, taking away your freedom, then you feel that when I'm out of the discipline, then I will have freedom. I'm waiting for one day at least I should have freedom because the discipline is coming from outside. When the discipline comes from within, then it's not the freedom from outside. You are free to do the discipline. That's why you do it. But it has to come from within. When the discipline comes from within, it is like ripening takes place. A raw fruit becomes a ripe. Ripening happens when the discipline comes from within. When you press duress under the pressure, discipline ripening will not take place. The whole idea is to see that the Brahmacharya ashrama should ripen you to become a Gurastha. And so many other different ways that ripening has to happen. So many different ways you can develop that. Now what happens is that the amount of discipline can be varied for different people and they're categorized. So one who has the highest degree of discipline is supposed to be the highest category of people called as Brahman. The next category is and type of discipline that was given, Kshatriya and Vaishya and Shudra. They also have discipline, but then it is graded wise in such a way that highest discipline is where when you have highest discipline, then the learning, penetration, all these things will become extraordinary. Sharpness, penetration, understanding. So Brahman is supposed to have that. And not only that, every discipline is actually turning inwards. Shreyas is always turning inwards. Discipline means basically that you are freedom to go outside. No, you don't have freedom to go outside. You don't have to go outside. It comes from within that I don't have to go outside. I can be within. This the reason why Brahmins were supposed to be the highest discipline. And now when highest discipline was given to the Brahmins, the recognized Brahmins, then what happens is that they are not easily attracted by the things that are there outside because discipline is there from within. Nothing can attract them from outside. When nothing can attract from outside, that means to say their judgment is basically very accurate. Their perception is accurate. Their knowledge is accurate. Their wisdom is accurate. And at the same time, that because they're in touch with themselves, they see the others also. You see, what is there within me that I identify me with? I see the others also the same thing. If I identify myself to be the physical body, I see the others to be physical body. When I identify myself with the consciousness, I look at the others as consciousness. This is a very important idea. Psychology is that it's a very interesting thing. Actually, all these things are vasanas. Vasana is such a broad word that you look at the world through the vasana. Your vasana is attracted to the body level. You look at the world at the body level. But you have the vasanas to look at the divinity within you, then the world looks divinity. See, that's what if you don't Where do I find God? Everywhere you find, Prahlada says, you don't have the vasana to see God. Otherwise, you don't see God. Otherwise, you would see God. His own father says. So therefore, your vasana, Hiranyakashipa, the very name Hiranyakashipa means that he only looks at the gold. He looks at the money. And all that, that is what he has to. And when you're looking at only the world, outside world, and that's also a very interesting thing. Money itself is useless. Money can be converted to something that is useful. Like, for example, food you use it, cloth you wear it, house you live it. So money has itself does not have any. Money has only importance because it. But somebody starts only seeing the money and not the whatever that it can be converted. Then his own focus is only money. That's what is Hiranyakashipa. and see, whatever that is useless for him, he still sees money in that. That's what you know. Nachiketa's father. All the cows which have given the last drop of milk, and then they can't even, they don't have teeth to even take it. That he gives to Brahmins so that he wants to encash that. That means, my God, he sees money even in that. The cow has served you for such a long time. After that, don't you have to take care of the cow? I mean, that one small little simple thing itself shudders you. That means basically that your parents who have taken care of for lifetime, the moment that they become 60, 70-year-old, should you abandon them? Is there a way that I can make money out of them? Bapre. In fact, you don't even have to go to other story of Nachiketa's complete in the
Just example.
yeah, simple, one small little simple thing. And then and glaring sun asks, see, you have to give something which is useful, and you are giving all these cows which are useless. So who do you give me? At least I'm useful. And second time, third time when he asks, the father gets annoyed. And when you get annoyed, you say, get lost. Get lost means I'll give it to son. Yama, death god. And then he directly went to death god. Nachiketa went to death god. So essentially, if you are seeing, what I said is that object, when it is useful, then you see it, that's okay. But now you have gone to the next level, you see only the money, not the object. Hiranyakashipu. That's the idea. Money, money, money. What to do? Yeah, you put under the bed, under the walls, and this and that. Because money is now coming, but you don't know what to do with that. So you keep that. And authorities are there to be behind you. So therefore, this is what is the idea.
It only means to have the.
Yeah, it is supposed to be useful for some purposes.
Yes.
That's why it is called as
Dravya.
currency.
Dravya. Yeah.
Matter, currency is that which flows. It has to flow, that's it. And it doesn't have to stay with you. In fact, that's the reason in Taittiriya Upanishad he says that cooked food you give it to the people. Because cooked food, you can't store it. You have to eat it. So however much that you eat it, you take it. Don't give something to hoard. In fact, hoarding is such a horrible thing. Mudajahi dhanagama trishna. Purusat buddhi manasi vitrushna. That's what it is. Dhanagama trishna. That means to say, I have to hoard money. I went to somebody's house long time ago. A rich man, contractor. Early morning that I went for breakfast, and then he was counting. Those days 500 rupees. My salary used to be less than 500 rupees. He was counting morning.
Yeah.
Bundle, 100 bundle, 100 bundle, like that he kept. Paragraph, come and said, I was saying, and then said, come on, let's have breakfast. We went to the breakfast table. And a nice, wonderful inlay table. You can just imagine the richness, everything on the table. dining table was, and the chairs, the whole set was so expensive, so beautiful. And on that, there was a central carousel. The carousel that there was nice, wonderful 5 layers. Himself and his wife and myself, we were sitting. And I said, Raghuram, you take some idli, vada. So I was young those days. I could handle any number of idlis. I'm angry also. So I was taking all that, and then chutney was there, and then Marthakulambu, this and all Tamil. And then pudis were there and all that. I was taking all those things, and then after I took whatever that I said, why don't you take it? He was sitting there. He was smiling. No, Raghuram, you. I insisted, please give me company. I said, no, I can't take this. This is because I have diabetes, so I can't take idli and all that. I have cholesterol, that's why I can't take oil things, but I can't take this, I can't take that. And all that I can take is the last one on top of it. Color pills were there. Then I will take that. My God. And then his wife was sitting. So I said, I was embarrassed. At least you give me company. I asked his wife. Wife was very blunt. I'm not sitting for breakfast here. I'm sitting here to see that he will not take anything. I'm a policeman here. We have money, but what we with us. That's the idea. So therefore, what happens is that the more that we get attached outside, then inner growth is not there. At childhood days, that material is required for purpose. And then if it serves the purpose, it's usefulness of the material. But then inside, that your growth has to happen. Turn inwards. Shreyas is important, prayas is left behind. So this is what is the way that the growth has to take place. Then what happens? You come to the grahastha level. Such a grahastha is a grahastha. He will not unnecessarily waste the material. And he also knows what is the usefulness of the material, who requires what kind of material, what can help somebody to grow. All these things that is there in the Brahmacharya Ashrama, he got that knowledge. Such a unit in the society, if such units are there in the society, why do they anybody have any idea of moral standards separate from way of life? For us, what happened is that we have to give separate moral standards. Whereas if you have proper Gurukula, then the moral standards are inbuilt in the people so that when they come, I said, that's why it has to become like your experience. You're living that living experience. So telling that's what Patanjali says, that Satya, it's not just only telling the truth. Satya Pratisthaya, you should be established as that. Similarly, Ahimsa Pratisthaya, you have to be established in that. That's how the whole practice is given to prepare you for the Grahasthashrama. Because Grahasthashrama, such an extraordinary, wonderful, responsible position in the whole of society. Society depends upon basically the way that houses are there, the homes are there. What are the people who are living? What is the standard that they have? Such a beautiful way it has developed. So Brahmacharya Ashrama, and another one of the very important aspect of Brahmacharya Ashrama is that during this time the child attains puberty. When the child attains puberty, immediately that there are always attractions that are there. But you see that you don't go by that attractions unless until you equip yourself fully. You have to be mature enough to see that you handle. If you are not mature enough, then you are not a proper candidate to get into the Grahasthashrama. So that is the reason. In fact, it's not only the human being. In every species, it is like that. In fact, I always look at the tulsi plant when it is initially growing. Initially, it starts giving the seeds. But still, the tulsi has a capacity to grow. Leaves can become big and then it gives more branches and all that. At that time, I see that people prune that seeds so that plant will grow. If plant, we can see that we prune them before seeds come, then why a child who is 10-year old get into the marriage ceremony, marriage connections or the opposite sex connection. Don't you understand that something that you should realize? I've heard about the stories of a mother of a child. The mother herself is 12 years, and her mother is only just 20 years. So a child who is born, grandmother is 20-year-old. A 20-year-old, you are still a teenager. Teenager grandmother. How to handle it? Where do you handle it? It was absolutely abused in the other cultures, and particularly in the form of Islam. Absolutely, there was no. How horrible it is that brother and sister together, they grow up, but suddenly they get married. She's no more a sister, she's a wife, he's not a brother, he's husband. Now, where are we heading into? So, unless until you have a proper system to see that how you can grow into, graduate yourself to Grahastha, that's a society that we need to create. Now, the question is that yes, if it could be adapted, whatever that was there about 10,000 years ago to 5,000 years, same thing was continued for 3,000 years ago. 1,000 years back also, we had the Brahmacharya Ashrama, Grahastha. Why can't we do it today? We can always do it. 2025. We should be able to do it. Only thing is, we need to have the right attitude to do it. And it's a whole society has taken up how to do it. It's not just only creating some Gurukul here and there and all that, and some small little holes here. Unfortunately, what happens that particular people who are there in that, they do not become the mainstream people. That's what most of the people who have followed this, many reformers in the education system, like J. Krishnamurti has come, and similarly that Theosophical Society, Anthroposophical School. Several people have come, but then they have not really touched the whole core of the idea. It is just only patchwork that they were doing it. But we need to understand this deeply. People have to come forward to do that, to prepare a proper grihastha. Now, you graduate into grihastha. We have not graduated into grihastha, and we become grihasthas. So that's what is the idea. What is that grihastha? What are the things that are there? We'll talk about that later. The elaborate process that is there. As stepping into grihastha is considered the most important step in the society. That's why of all the 60 different samskaras that are there, marriage samskara is an extraordinary samskara. Extraordinary samskara. And in such a way that it is taken so seriously that if there is an elaborate marriage procedure, then you don't need a divorce procedure. Where that marriage procedure is not elaborate, then you need divorce. Somebody said in California, he said, come on, do the ceremony of marriage fast. I said, why? Because I parked my car in the wrong place. Before ticket is given, I should finish the marriage and go back and take the car. That's what is the marriage procedure. Elaborate deep marriage procedure. Commitment is given. So a lot of things are there. We'll talk about it in the future lessons. Thank you. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
In the
Yes.
marriage thing, you'll also talk about the Kanyadana also, isn't it?
Yeah. Now it comes to marriage thing. Rituals in the marriage.
Why all these things are not understood by the heads of the community in Islam and
See, what happened is almost like 150 years.
they are very
We were in a dark period, or at least last 70 years, definitely in the dark period. Because we had the people who were heading, I don't know anybody had any idea about these things. Huh? Yeah, but we have to understand properly. In fact, even
Nowadays, marriages have become more of prayers rather than shares.
more of
Prayers, more of the celebration.
celebration and extravaganza. It's like, people think of marriage as is a show of their wealth. They're
lesser rituals and more of the
Right,
celebration
show.
is good, but
Yeah, very unfortunate thing.
now practices are coming, like especially in
Yeah.
North Indian marriages, the Dulha's friends, not of alcohol, you have to bear the expenses, they
Mm.
misbehave, that has to be tolerated. Anyone has any doubts in the session?
Yes. You can unmute and ask questions. I think we can close down the session. There's nobody. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.